The issuance of serial emergency money during German inflation in the 1920s. The political landscape of Germany in the 1920s was characterized by instability and fragmentation following the end of World War I. The Weimar Republic, established in 1919, faced immense challenges as it sought to rebuild the nation amidst widespread dissatisfaction. The Treaty of Versailles, which imposed heavy reparations on Germany, fueled resentment and was perceived as a humiliation. This led to the rise of various political factions from radical leftists to national groups, all vying for power and influence. Frequent changes in government, along with concepts as coups such as the Kapp Putsch in 1920, created a climate of political uncertainty. The political turmoil was compounded by ongoing social unrest as many Germans struggled to accept the loss of the war and the economic hardships that followed. The fear of communism, spurred by the Russian Revolution in 1917, also loomed large, leading to a climate of suspicion and conflict between various ideological factions within society. Economically, the early 1920s were marked by severe instability. The aftermath of the war left Germany's economy in ruins, with significant damage to infrastructure and industry. The government resorted to printing money to meet its reparations obligations and fund reconstruction, which led to rampant inflation. By the early 1920s, hyperinflation had begun to take hold, eroding the value of the German mark and decimating savings for the middle class. This period of hyperinflation reached its zenith in 1923 when prices skyrocketed and people struggled to afford basic necessities. The value of money plummeted so drastically that ordinary transactions required wheelbarrows full of cash, and many people resorted to bartering or using alternative forms of currency. This economic chaos created an environment where survival became a daily challenge for many. The social structure of Germany during the late 1920s was deeply affected by the economic crisis. The middle class, which had once enjoyed stability and security, faced the threat of poverty as their savings became worthless. Daily life was marked by anxiety and desperation as families struggled to secure food, shelter, and employment. Many people found themselves in a constant state of uncertainty, unsure if they would be able to meet their basic needs from one day to the next. Social norms shifted significantly during this period. The trauma of the war and the ensuing economic hardship led to a questioning of traditional values and institutions. Many people, particularly the younger generation, sought new forms of expression and socialization, leading to changes in lifestyle and cultural pursuits. The rise of modernist ideas influenced art, literature, and social behavior, and cities like Berlin became hubs of artistic innovation and experimentation. Culturally, the 1920s were a time of both vibrancy and contradiction. While the economic landscape was bleak, it also sparked a wave of creativity. Movements such as Expressionism and Dada emerged, reflecting the disillusionment with traditional forms and the desire for new ways to express the human experience. The Weimar Republic became known for its cultural achievements, with a flourishing of theater, film, and avant-garde. Technologically, this era saw significant advancements, particularly in communication and transportation. The rise of the automobile industry and improvements in public transportation changed the dynamics of urban life, making cities more accessible. However, these advancements often seemed disconnected from the daily struggles of the average citizen who grappled with the harsh realities of hyperinflation and economic despair. Concurrent with these developments in Germany were significant global events. The spread of communism and the establishment of the Soviet Union influenced political dynamics across Europe, raising fears of similar revolutions in Germany. Additionally, the rise of fascism in Italy and the economic challenges faced by other nations contributed to a tense atmosphere, further complicating Germany's recovery efforts. The overall mood of the 1920s in Germany was one of turmoil and uncertainty, marked by a desperate search for stability amidst chaos. While cultural and artistic innovations provided some hope and a sense of progress, the pervasive economic crisis and political instability fostered feelings of frustration and disillusionment among the populace. For many, the era was defined by a longing for security and a better future set against a backdrop of profound social change and upheaval. In summary, the 1920s in Germany were characterized by political volatility, economic hardship, and significant social transformation. This broader historical context is vital for understanding the issuance of serial emergency money during this tumultuous period, as it reflects the desperate measures taken to cope with the chaos and instability of the time. The issuance of Notgeld, emergency money, became as a temporary solution to facilitate trade and commerce in the face of hyperinflation. As the value of the German mark plummeted, local municipalities and businesses started printing their own money to maintain economic activity. This currency, often colorful and varied in design, was used for everyday transactions when the official currency became ineffective. The term serial refers to the practice of issuing multiple series of these notes, often with different denominations and designs. After Germany's defeat in World War I, the country faced dire economic conditions, exacerbated by the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed heavy reparations. The government's decision to finance these reparations by printing more money led to inflation. By the early 1920s, inflation escalated sharply, particularly in 1923. The currency lost its value so dramatically that prices soared and the mark became increasingly worthless. For example, the price of a loaf of bread increased from a few marks to several hundred billion marks within a short period. As the official currency faltered, local governments and businesses began issuing their own emergency money to keep trade and local economies functioning. This decentralized approach allowed communities to continue operating amidst rampant inflation. The notes were typically issued in various denominations and often featured artistic designs that reflected local culture or historical significance. Some municipalities produced large quantities of this currency, further contributing to the money supply. Initially, there was little regulation governing the issuance of Notgeld, leading to a proliferation of different notes that were not uniformly accepted across regions. This lack of standardization created confusion and undermined confidence in the currency system. Eventually, the German government intervened in an attempt to standardize and regulate the use of emergency money. However, by this time, the hyperinflation had reached a critical level, and the effectiveness of such measures was limited. Several factors motivated the issuance of serial emergency money during this period. As inflation spiraled, businesses faced collapsing revenues, and consumers were unable to make transactions. The issuance of Notgelds allowed local economies to continue functioning despite the collapse of the national currency. Local governments sought to maintain order and prevent civil unrest. By providing an alternative means of transaction, they aimed to alleviate public frustration and demonstrate that they were actively addressing the economic crisis. Many communities saw the issuance of Notgeld as a way to foster local identity and pride. The artistic designs of the notes often celebrated local culture and history, helping to instill a sense of confidence among residents despite the dire economic circumstances. The scale of the Notgeld issuance was substantial. By mid-1923, thousands of different Notgeld notes were in circulation, with municipalities and businesses across Germany issuing their own currency. The sheer volume of currency printed contributed to the ongoing inflationary spiral, as each new issuance further devalued existing money. The reaction to the issuance of Notgeld was mixed. Many people initially accepted Notgeld as a practical solution, allowing them to conduct daily transactions despite the economic chaos. Local currencies often gained temporary trust as people sought to navigate the inflation crisis. However, the proliferation of different Notgeld notes led to confusion among consumers and merchants. Some individuals were skeptical about the value and stability of these currencies, leading to reluctance in accepting them. The German government and the Reichsbank, the central bank, expressed concern over the uncontrolled issuance of Notgeld, fearing that it could further destabilize the economy. They recognized that the lack of a cohesive monetary policy was contributing to the inflation crisis. Key figures in the issuance of serial emergency money during German inflation in the 1920s were Rudolf Havenstein and Hermann Joseph Abs. Rudolf Havenstein was born in 1874 in a middle-class family in Germany. He pursued a career in economics and finance, gaining a strong educational background that would later influence his professional trajectory. In 1908, he began working at the Reichsbank, where he eventually rose to the position of president in 1923. His early career was marked by a focus on monetary policy and banking operations, equipping him with the knowledge and skills necessary to navigate the financial crisis that Germany faced during the Weimar Republic. Havenstein was known for his meticulous nature and strong belief in the stability of the German mark. He held a deep-seated conviction that a return to sound monetary policy could restore confidence in the economy. However, his unwavering commitment to maintaining the value of the mark often placed him at odds with the political realities of the time. He was also perceived as somewhat rigid and resistant to radical changes, preferring to uphold established economic principles. As president of the Reichsbank during the hyperinflation crisis, Havenstein faced immense pressure to stabilize the economy. His motivations were rooted in a combination of necessity and ideology. He sought to preserve the integrity of the German financial system and believed that adherence to sound monetary principles could eventually lead to recovery. Despite his ideals, Havenstein initially underestimated the severity of hyperinflation. As the crisis deepened, he recognized the need for emergency measures. Under his leadership, the Reichsbank began to issue increasingly large amounts of currency, including Notgeld, to meet the demands of a collapsing economy. Havenstein's decision to support the issuance of emergency money, although controversial, was aimed at facilitating transactions in a rapidly deteriorating economic environment. His involvement was critical. While he was not the architect of Notgeld, his leadership at the Reichsbank and the decisions made during this period set the stage for the chaotic issuance of emergency money. Havenstein's actions exemplified the struggle between adhering to traditional economic principles and responding to urgent financial realities, a dynamic that characterized the tumultuous period. Hermann Joseph Abs, born in 1901 in Dusseldorf, Germany, was a prominent banker and politician who would later play a pivotal role in shaping Germany's post-war financial landscape. He studied law and economics at several universities, including the University of Frankfurt, which helped him develop a deep understanding of financial systems. Abs began his career at Dusseldorfer Bank, gaining practical experience in banking and finance. Abs' ascent in the banking sector was meteoric. He became a key figure at the Deutsche Bank, where he advocated for innovative banking practices and played a significant role in financial negotiations during the inflationary period. His expertise in banking operations and commitment to financial stability prepared him for his involvement in the emergency money situation. Known for his keen intellect and innovative thinking, Abs was recognized for his pragmatic approach to banking and finance. He possessed strong analytical skills and an ability to navigate complex financial landscapes. Additionally, his willingness to embrace new ideas and adapt to changing circumstances made him a valuable asset during a time of crisis. Abs was motivated by a combination of ambition and necessity. He underscored that the key to hyperinflation crisis threatened the very foundations of the German economy and was keen to find practical solutions to stabilize the situation. His position at Deutsche Bank allowed him to influence financial policies and advocate for measures that would alleviate the immediate economic pressures faced by ordinary Germans. During the hyperinflation period, Abs was instrumental in promoting the issuance of Notgeld as a viable means of currency. He recognized that without a functional medium of exchange, the economy would collapse further and people's daily lives would suffer immensely. Abs' efforts to coordinate the issuance of emergency money and his advocacy for local currencies were crucial in ensuring that transactions could continue amongst the chaos. His involvement in shaping the issuance of Notgeld exemplified his commitment to finding innovative solutions in a time of crisis. By leveraging his banking expertise and understanding of economic principles, Abs played a significant role in facilitating trade and maintaining some level of economic activity during the hyperinflation period. Both Rudolf Havenstein and Hermann Joseph Abs were pivotal figures in the issuance of serial emergency money during the German inflation of the 1920s. Their backgrounds, motivations, and specific contributions illustrate the complex interplay between economic necessity and the challenges of adhering to traditional monetary principles in a time of crisis. Their actions significantly influenced the course of this financial event, showcasing their roles as key players in navigating the tumultuous waters of hyperinflation. There were many long-term consequences and historical significance. The Notgeld experience profoundly influenced future financial practices in Germany and beyond. It served as a cautionary tale regarding the dangers of excessive money printing without backing and the risks of a decentralized currency system. Policymakers learned the importance of maintaining central control over monetary policy to ensure economic stability. The hyperinflation crisis highlighted the need for sound fiscal policies and the management of public debt, shaping future approaches to economic governance in Germany and influencing the policies of other nations facing inflationary pressures. The economic hardship experienced during the hyperinflation period led to significant societal changes. The disillusionment with the Weimar Republic and the perceived failures of the government paved the way for the political radicalization and the eventual rise of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party. The financial turmoil of the 1920s contributed to a broader sense of instability and dissatisfaction with democracy, ultimately leading to the collapse of the Weimar Republic and the rise of authoritarianism in Germany. The experience of hyperinflation and the reliance on emergency money became ingrained in their collective memory of the German people. It influenced cultural expressions in literature, art, and cinema, reflecting the anxieties and traumas associated with economic instability. This legacy of financial trauma can be seen in the cautious approach of post-war Germany towards economic policy and monetary management, with an emphasis on stability and prevention of similar crises in the future. The issuance of serial emergency money during the hyperinflation crisis in 1920s Germany had immediate and long-lasting impacts on the economy, politics, and society. While it provided a temporary solution to a pressing economic crisis, the event also served as a cautionary tale for future financial practices and policies. The legacy of this period is reflected in the careful approach taken by subsequent governments and central banks as they sought to avoid the mistakes of the past and ensure economic stability for future generations.